My guest, Dr. Sam Omale. He's the President CEO Global Investment Network. He joins me virtually from the UK to react and, of course, speak so much with regards to this very important topic, the new ATM charges. Nigerians are not taking it funny. Good morning, Dr. Sam.
Good morning, Yusuf. How are you doing?
Very well. It's a pleasure having you again. You're listening to some Nigerians there speaking about this CBN, new policy with regards to ATM charges. What's your immediate reaction to that?
My immediate reaction is mixed because banks are businesses and they are into business to make money, and the cost of doing that business must be retrieved or passed on to customers. Having said that, I think overall the charges in Nigerian banks are too many. The central bank is in a dilemma because central bank is in a position to protect the customers and also protect the banks. So they play the referee role so that overall activities of these parties will lead to financial system stability. ATM charges, I don't know worldwide, but because of the cost of doing that, in the UK, for example, 97% of ATMs are free. In fact, there are two types of ATMs, free to use and pay to use. Pay to use is organized by independent ATM owners. And when you go there, you say you will pay, and it's normally £1 something to withdraw. So in Nigeria, because of lack of infrastructure or lack of services, everything is transactional. Everything is business, and that's a problem. So I think by this, Central Bank has said, if you are withdrawing from your bank, it's free. If you are using other banks' ATMs, you pay this amount. So it's fair as far as I'm concerned, but again, it shouldn't be so.
Indeed, Doc. There's a story that we took in our top stories. That story did say about, over 7 million small businesses in Nigeria have shut down in the last 2 years. That is a very huge number. When 7 million businesses shut down, you can imagine the number of people that will be thrown into the labor market. We have banks in this country that are not in business to support small businesses. Many of them hardly give loans to small businesses. What role do you think bank, right do they have for them to be deducting this huge amount of money from customers' accounts on account of charges or, transactional rate or something?
I think there's a lot of homework for Central Bank to do and for all Nigerian banks to do. Nigerian banks are not doing core banking. The core role of a bank is financial intermediation, and their major source of income should be asset creation, which is loan creation. Their net interest income should be 67% of their income. But I'm trying to study the analysis of the various earning channels of Nigerian banks, but I can guarantee you that loan is not one of the highest, which makes the banking practice in Nigeria a lazy man business, but catching out this money. For example, you talk about SMEs. My statistics show that only 3% of SMEs have access to credit, which is abysmal, which is actually, very atrocious. Only 3% have access to credit. So that should be improved. Nigerian bank, the charges are too many. They have so many charges. There's something called a COT charge. There's a maintenance charge. There's to a point that if you put your money in the bank alone, over the years, the money will go away without touching it. So Central Bank should go through these charges again and make it universal, make it what is obtainable in Nigeria. But I guess why we have these extra banking charges is the cost of running banks, generators, security, and all that. So I get that. But if you should improve the infrastructure, banking infrastructure along that line, banking should not be stressful at all. In fact, Central Bank some years ago introduced a VAT. How do you charge VAT on banks? I don't understand that. There's no way in the world that bank charges are not vatable. So banks are so lazy now that they're getting these huge profits and they're not doing nothing. The money they have, they go and buy the treasury bills and transact in foreign exchange. And that's how they're making this humongous profits. So Nigerian banks should be streamlined to be professionally working towards loan creation, which should be the major source of income.
All right, Doc. You talked about the bank. I mean, introducing these charges because of the cost of, running business, the cost of diesel, the cost of, even overhead and so many other things like that. But we've seen banks declaring humongous profits almost at the end of every year. I mean, it appears that if you are into banking to support the growth of the economy, is it the right of the banks to be declaring humongous profit like most of Nigerian banks do almost every year, and we applaud them?
Look, I've taken this up for over 10 years now. I believe this study that before we thought it was paper profit, but it's actually real profit they're declaring. And we should investigate them more. What are the sources of this profit? I guarantee you it will be things like forest transaction and all that, and the money they earn from treasury bills. When they buy treasury bills at Central Bank and the money they put in Central Bank and earn those interests, that does not translate into helping the outer economy, into the real economy. So I think Central Bank should work on this. And before they to have these allocations, structural allocation, where banks must invest 40% in agriculture, 20% in agriculture, which was policies. I don't think that is also right, but we should have a discussion on giving banks proper lines of business. Otherwise, because it's an oxymoron. The profits they are declaring, it's not translating to the real economy.
Absolutely.
So I think that banks, if they're not being greedy, should also be able to absorb these things. Make some of these services free. The charges I see on my bank statements is so ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Everything, SMS charge, transfer charge, even if you're transferring from bank to somebody, so many charges. And that's where they are getting their money from. And it's lazy banking. Banking is my profession, and I started banking from 17. It's a difficult, hard job. But these guys are making it so easy for them to make money. And they're not using their intellectual ability to create money from other sources, other than exploiting people that are giving them the money they are supposed to be using. Savings are supposed to be used to create assets, to create loans. That's it. That banking is take money from deficit, like from the surplus, and give it to deficit and manage your load. The last I checked is that non-performing loans in Nigeria is so high because banks are even lazy to understand how to underwrite loans. The underwriting process of a loan. That's the main reason why bank non-performing loans in Nigeria is rising every year. So CBN, NDIC, the regulators should hammer on banks' major line of business to bring these costs, because it's like selling the naira, like selling cash, and the ATMs are not working, and people are alleging that it's a collusion between the banks and the ATM, the POS operators. The POS operators are so expensive to withdraw money from there. So the way out again is, many years ago, Central Bank was hampering on cashless economy. I don't know what happened to that drive. Cashless economy means you don't use cash, or minimum, barely. I hardly touch cash. I hardly touch cash because there's no need for it. So if you go to do a shopping, you tap and pack your things. Nobody charges you for these things. So we should make transaction in Nigeria, business transaction in Nigeria, very easy. But again, I must emphasize, the infrastructure to carry that is not there. And that's why they are charging.
All right, Doc, there is a lot to be said. The CBN is a regulator in this case. Do you think they are doing well enough? And by extension, what is the implication of this on the financial inclusion effort of the Central Bank of Nigeria?
Central Bank, like I said, is a dilemma. The overall role or desire of Central Bank is to create financial system stability. And banks are their major constituency. So they look at banks for them to be able to be sustainable and be able to carry out their transactions. In doing that, they have so many regulations, policies that guide their operation on giving loans and all that. Their risk management framework in place. That said, the other constituency they have are we, the ordinary people on the street who are dealing with banks. They have to protect our interests. The only way they protect our interests so far is through NDIC, for example, that insures the 85,000 or whatever amount of money you have in the bank. So, CBN is working towards balancing this act. Financial inclusion, by the way, is there in various forms. Savings is one, which is the basic level of financial inclusion. I don't think that's a problem because 65% of Nigeria have savings accounts. Now, another level is credit. That's where Central Bank should be happening on. Loans are not being given. Like I said, only 3% of SMEs have access to credit. Another level of financial inclusion is mortgage, insurance. These are various levels of inclusion, and there are 3-4 bodies in Nigeria that are responsible for the overall financial inclusion. Central Bank deals with regulation and supervision. NDIC deals with the insurance. PENCOM deals with the pension. NICOM deals with insurance. So this body should come together to make financial business, financial transaction in Nigeria easy and seamless. Otherwise, it's driving businesses out. Like I read in your introduction, there are so many businesses closing down because we are too much cash and carry economy. That kind of economy cannot go. It's so rudimentary. It's like still dealing with butter, trading by butter. It's something different. We should get to a level of digital banking, online banking, and credit. Credit is what drives economies around the world. But Nigeria, there's no credit. If you are buying a house, it's cash. If you are buying anything, it's cash. Where is that done? So we should be able to develop a credit culture that people can work through that. Otherwise, everything is cash and carry. We cannot go. That economy cannot go to anywhere at all. So CBN should be bringing policies that address this thing. Digital banking, mobile banking, that the main reason for banking, digitization of banking services is cost, reducing cost, because there are no intermediaries.
Absolutely.
So there are no intermediaries, there's no paper, there's nothing to do. So it should be cheap. But Nigeria is still expensive.
Indeed. Doc, there is also a concern again raised by the BDC's operators this morning that the banks are hoarding dollars, and that is going to affect the stability that Naira is currently enjoying. We saw Naira losing about 35 Naira last week at the close of business on Friday. There we saw that happen there in the forex market. What do you make of this accusation coming from the BDC's operators saying that banks are holding the dollar?
Yeah, it's a sad story. It's not today. I mean, like I just said now, one of the major sources of income for Nigerian banks is forex. It's called round trip. That would have been it for years. And CBN should come hard on this illegal kind of business. Can you walk to the bank today and do exchange? You cannot. They display these fake rates, but if you ask them to give you, they don't. So why are they? Because here on the high street, you have post office, private bureau change. They'll give you your rate. You go to the bank, you see the bank's rate, and transact, and it's fractions. There's hardly any difference. So you can walk to any bank and transfer and transact business in foreign exchange. So they should not be holding it. And I think Central Bank is already planning to put a lot of sanction on banks for doing that. See, but the problem in Nigeria is that Central Bank's punitive measures is put into cost of business. So if Central Bank should charge them or to put a penalty of X amount of naira, they transfer that to the customers. So banks deliberately violate Central Bank directives, knowing that they will, whatever charge, whatever penalty they pay, they will get it from the customers. So Central Bank should go beyond just ensuring compliance, but also making sure that commercial banks don't turn penalties into cost of doing business.
Indeed. All right, Doc, hold your thoughts there. I want to take a report because Nigerians are faced with one charge too many. The bills are there, the electricity tariff is there, the bank charges is there, the fuel subsidy gone is also there, and this is affecting, of course, the breadwinners in various families. Many of them are facing depression as we speak. Let's take this report that did speak to that before we continue the conversation.
The prevailing economic situation in our nation today is having a significant toll on the physical and mental well-being of some family heads. Many family heads are experiencing financial stress due to the economic hardship. They are struggling to make ends meet, pay their bills, and provide the important necessities for their families. The fight to repress the pressure, especially in a society that prioritizes issues affecting women and children, has driven many family heads into depression. Speaking to some family heads in Lagos on the economic hardship and their struggle to meet their daily demands, many expressed their thoughts and frustration.
So it has been a very big challenge. And every day things are going up in the market. When you buy food today, tomorrow you get another price again. So it has been a very tough challenge to us as a family. I personally, I know what I'm passing through.
Initially, people do come, but now, as this country be now, is terrible. But with God, I know that everything will work out.
And I'm living in Ogun State. The part of Ogun State is Turkey. Every day I spend like 3,000 for me to get to my shop. Or if I don't want to spend up to that 3,000, I used to trek like this. I trek like 1 hour to make my money that I will spend in the day to reduce. National security before now I working by myself. I'm making trade, buy and sell. Finally, everybody know how Nigeria be now. Everything is hard. Work hard, get money hard, buy food hard, transfer, go to a Keja before it's 20 naira, now it's 300 naira, sometimes for evening 500 naira.
To manage economic hardship and depression, experts say breadwinners need to remain patient, disciplined, resilient, and persevering. However, government intervention, especially in reducing the cost of fuel, remains crucial in addressing the country's economic challenges.
Doc, you listen to Nigerians and Lagosians there speaking about their plights under the current economic reality that we are facing in Nigeria. Many of them, of course, you've listened to them. What's your reaction to that, expression there from breadwinners, so to say, heads of their families in various ways?
it's a very, very depressing read, and watching this, I mean, it's very depressing. But this did not start today. It had been degenerating since the 90s. And various governments that came dodged it until now. And this is this one definitely, as an economist, this way I ought to credit this present government, because of the policies they're introducing. If they become effective, if they follow through, and people don't take advantage again, because in everything there's what we call arbitrage. Arbitrage comes in when people take advantage of even the good intention of government to begin to make money again, which is what normally happens in Nigeria. So these tough economic decisions they are making now is what would have been done some 20 years ago, some 30 years ago, even 40 years ago, where we have so much money and we're spending them on frivolities. We're not getting taxes, we're not paying for anything. So they created this free mentality in our system, and now it's changing. So this hard period we have to pass through this harsh phase, which I guarantee you is going to be more than 10 years. It's not going to be, nobody should even kid you that it's going to ease. Because we have to put the infrastructure in place. We have to put the farm in place. We have to put so many things in place. Otherwise, that guy who's traveling, who has to trek an hour to reduce his cost, will continue to trek as long as there's no public transport. If state governments put long buses, coaches that move every 30 minutes between space to space, that transport cost is reduced. That problem is solved. But is any state thinking about that transportation, for example, will do that? Township transportation from one end to the other every second. People can move into it and it's cheap. Then, if farm produce, if farmers can concentrate and these herders and these criminals will not disrupt their farms, eating up their crops, there will be food. So if there's infrastructure in place, so I'm thinking that whatever money they're saving from the subsidy, for example, can solve a lot of these problems. Then the issue of corruption, this is what corruption brings to an economy. It disrupts everything. Everything will break down. And so this is the result of what we have been indulging in all Nigerian life. So if this government can be, it's already bold. I like the boldness, and Nigerians can take anything. If this boldness will lead to a life that is more acceptable, because what we are seeing right now is unacceptable anyway. It's like a refugee camp, and this government will have to turn that around, and they have the capacity to do that, the willingness to do that. If they do that, that's it. It's not about politics or anything. It's a government. Once you come into power, you solve a problem. You cannot be thinking of whatever happened again. You solve the problem you campaign to solve. And this government should focus on solving that problem by all means. It's a government problem.
Doc, talking about government focusing on solving all the problems they campaigned before they came into office, of course, the people welfare should also be put into consideration as well, because in some other climes, before tough decisions are taken, we saw that some form of stimulus funds are voted into the economy to cushion the effect of whatever decision that government was going to take. But in Nigerian case, do you think that was done?
Yeah, I think the government itself will acknowledge that fact that they didn't prepare the ground before, for example, they took the subsidy decision. Like I said, for example, if in Abuja, for example, you have 100 coaches, that takes care of transportation in that state, in that town. 100 functional coaches that move from Nyanya to Gwagwalada to all of those places. Movement will be done. So, yes, they did not I don't know, they didn't prepare for the outcome of the aftermath of their decision. Again, because they came in the way they came in. So, to that effect, I would say that every government decision should be matched with a preparation of the mind, and also a preparation that will help people to be able to cope with the changes.
Now, you talked about subsidy, monies we save from subsidy can indeed be utilized in proper way to benefit the populace. People are asking, we are saving so much from subsidy according to the federal government, and on the other hand, we are also borrowing a lot from the international donors. Where are we in this case? If you look at the budget for 2025, it's a deficit budget as usual. We have about over 13 trillion naira there that will be borrowed as well, both local and domestic, international, for us to be able to fund the budget.
I'm afraid and skeptical about the level of borrowing that takes place in Nigeria. In my opinion, most of these loans should have been investment funds. Because you can't, and there are two things that are wrong. Okay, the first thing that is wrong is the loans that are being taken, are they tied to specific investment, a specific project that pays itself back? Because if I go to take a loan from the bank right now, I'll tell the bank why I'm taking this loan. This loan is to start up a transport business, which will cost me X amount of naira, and in 1 year, 2 years, I'll pay back. Loans are being taken, state governments are taking loan, local governments are taking loan, local and international. But what are these loans used for? A loan is an asset. Why is it called an asset? Because it works itself, it pays back itself. So if I take money, if I take 100 naira as a loan, I will use that 100 naira to make it 200, 300. So now, every loan, I want an analysis of all the projects, the loans. Forget that, maybe we should just draw a line. From this government now, how much have they taken as loans and what were they used for? That's number one. Number two, the terms of these loans are not understood by Nigerian officials that negotiate these loans.
Absolutely. That's a major concern, Doctor.
Amici told us that he didn't know the terms when he signed off a contract with China. The contract was written in Chinese. IMF, I have friends in the IMF and World Bank. They said when they go to Nigeria to negotiate to give them loans, they have no problem at all. They just go to their hotels, enjoy themselves, bring out the document, and Nigerians sign. This is life. When they go to India, India will grill them. They have a hard time. So we have to know the terms of these loans. We have to know the conditions of these loans. And we have to negotiate. Banks, IMF, these are commercial banks. These are banks that are out to destroy third world countries. America will never pay back this loan. These loans are given in the dollar. If America wants to pay back its loan, it prints the dollar. But the African will have to work hard to earn the dollar to pay back. And how do you earn the dollar? You have to export. Now we can't export anything. They don't accept our food. So that's why there's a debt trap and burden on the third world. So for me, don't take these loans. Go to individual business organizations. Come and do business here. Take land. Take labor. Just do business. And they will come. But all this every time loan. And the loans we get, then we use it for consumables. We are buying vehicles for legislators, for senators from these loans. How does it work? You don't advise my clients, simple people, you don't take loan to go and buy food. That's what loans are for. So if Nigeria, they take loan, that's why I want to see an analysis, a breakdown of what these loans are used for. The cars, the SUV they are buying for senators, the security, all kinds of costs on Nigeria is so burdensome. Cost of governance is too high. And that's why these loans are, half of it or even more, are going to those consumables, and it should be stopped. Nigerians should attract investors, not loans. And the loan rate is so high. The interest rate here is so low. So they go to Africa, where African just takes whatever rate they give them. Yes, I mean, if I'm a businessman, I want to go there. And they will get their money back because you have resources to take. So the terms of loan should be negotiated. The project for which the loan is given must be identified and followed up, and see how they are making money. How do I make money to repay back this loan? That's what it should be, not how to consume loan, knowing that 8 years time I won't be government. So that was happening. They take these loans, spend it, and leave the burden. That at the top, and people should rise up to demand for the analysis of where these loans are being channeled to.
So, indeed, Doc, let's begin to wrap up now, and let's wrap where we started from. I don't know what you say to some Nigerians who have made up their mind not to use banks anymore because of the excessive charges that we talked about earlier. Those who have said, look, I'm not going to take my money to the bank anymore. What do you have to say to them?
Will you blame them? You don't blame them. You know, there's something we call unexpected consequences. When central banks and other regulators bring out certain policies, there's something we call unexpected consequences. They didn't anticipate what will happen. Whether central banks want to protect banks, liquidity is the bloodline of banks. Certainly. So if individuals refuse to bring the liquidity in cash, banks will run dry of cash and they die. So I will guarantee you that Nigerians will react by keeping cash under their pillow again, which should not be. So I don't blame them, because like I told you, if you put 100,000 naira in your account without touching it, in a year's time, the money is zero.
Zero, absolutely.
I mean, how does that happen? So the banking culture is so primitive and tortuous to even us who understand banking. That why should that be? So Nigerians will have alternative by investing that money in something. They go buy land, do something that instead of putting it in the bank, and banks will run dry of liquidity of cash, and that will be a more difficult thing for them. So banks should be able to make these transactions cheaper than what they are now. So the right to protest, to say, look, we're not going to keep money in the bank again. But of course, there's the other side of it, there's security. Because if armed robbers and thieves know that you keep money in the house now, they'll come out. So again, it's a difficult situation for Nigerians to navigate at the moment.
Absolutely. Doc, let's digress a little away from the topic. I know you are from Kogi State, and of course you must have been watching regard with what is going on in Nigerian Senate. One senator from your state was suspended last week for 6 months from his legislative duties for the people. I want to get your reaction to that. Of course, it's away from this topic with regards to your reaction. I want to get your reaction to that as somebody from Kogi State.
Well, I wasn't expecting this at all, because I've been reading and watching the news honestly with sorrow, with sadness, that of all these things, the seriousness, the things that we're facing, the Senate had degenerated into this drama that's playing out. This lady has made an allegation, and you have a Senate that was the accused, the judge, and the jury, everything together. And I mean, it's not what should have happened is to be independent in this. And the Senate, for me, they're not independent. They have judged that case and tried to silence the voice of a fellow senator. All right. That should not be. And I want to see that case going through the course and let us know that there's nothing emotional about it. They're bringing family members to do all this thing that's typical of Nigeria, and before you know it, the whole thing is pushed down. Sexual allegation is a serious allegation, and it is not time bound. So nobody should say, well, why didn't he say it before now? There's no time bound for sexual harassment, sexual allegation. It's not time bound. So she is within her right. If he has evidence, and I'm sure he has, I hope he has voice and whatever. I'm like, when he said that, he said to take her to a hotel. I wish he went to the hotel and get, those things have so many problems to solve. She has been deprived of serving her people for 6 months. Why should that be? Even for expressing yourself, we have human right of expressing ourselves. So that suspension should be quashed immediately. Let her come back to help to do her job and let the process go on. He's an elected member of the Senate. But it's a sad thing. We have more serious thing to do than to be diverted to this kind of television show. It's shameful and disgraceful, in my opinion.
Investment Network. Amos, thank you for your time on Business Daily, and of course, we appreciate your contribution as well.
Thank you. You couldn't hear me or what? You couldn't hear me?
No, I was hearing you very, very well. You made your point.
Okay.
To go now.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
All right. With that, the wrap on the show today. We'll be back again tomorrow. I am Yusuf Akogu.